Just- Okay. All right. I think we're about ready to get going here. We've got about 20 minutes, I think, of your time, Stuart. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's fine to go over if you need to.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a handful of media here, mostly from the Tampa area. So, Stewart Cink, thank you so much for joining us to talk a little bit today about the Skechers World Champions Cup supporting Shriners Children's. I'd like to kind of start off with a couple of questions for myself and then I hand it off to the assembled media here. So maybe I'll start with this one. Just the Skechers World Champions Cup supporting Shriners Children's is being played for just the second time this December. It'll be your first appearance in the event. So curious to kind of hear what you've heard from other players about the experience and what you're most excited about when it comes to representing Team USA.
Well, yes, you're right about that. I didn't get to play last year or last time 2 years ago. But what I have heard from the players is mostly two things: that it's a really fun competition on the course, and it's a really fun hang off the course. And those are the two things that, when I think back to the Ryder Cup and Presidents Cups I played, those are the two most important factors. And most of my really tight relationships in the game were formed at those team events, the bonds. And so I'm looking forward to forging some new bonds. And also, this format's really intriguing with the three-way match play between the three teams. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You just kind of touched on it. You kind of beat me a little bit to my next question, but you played on five Ryder Cup teams, you played on four Presidents Cups teams. And I guess just could you give us your thoughts on kind of how cool it is that this event sort of marries those two? And then I'd love to hear a little bit, about how you and the other guys on the Champions Tour, are sort of getting to rekindle those rivalries a little bit. I imagine for guys at the highest level of the sport, the passion and the competitiveness never really goes away. So could you just kind of hit on those for a little bit, please?
Yeah, you're right about that. It doesn't. And right now, we're right in the middle of the playoffs for the Charles Schwab Cup out on the PGA Tour Champions. So most everyone's focus has been more on that than it has been on the rivalries. But we've been talking every time I get paired with a player who's on one of the teams. I pick their brain a little bit about like what was it like last time, and the format. The format is quite different because it's points related, and there's three-way matches on in each group.
Right.
So I'm not going to try to explain it because I don't know if I'll get it right. But there'll be a time to learn the format, and it's going to be here pretty soon. But I just know that everyone's excited about teeing it up. I'm sure there'll be some good natured trash talk out there, and everybody wants to win. I mean, the U.S. team won last time, and it came down to the last match, pretty much. So great excitement, and they're going to want to knock us off. I know the Europeans and the internationals are going to want to knock us off, and they're going to have to come clawing for it because we want to win too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was told that on a previous interview you were asked a little bit about that trash talk and amongst the other teams, Europe and international, who the biggest trash talkers are out there. So maybe if you could just hit on that a little bit for the guys that are on the call now, that'd be great.
Well, I singled out Darren Clark as being the one biggest trash talker because I think he probably is, and he does a great job. He's just a classy guy all the way, and he knows when to bring the needle out, while also keeping that respect intact because for sure, everybody on all these teams respects each other so much because we've just gone toe to toe with each other and won and lost, with everybody. But I would say probably that Steve Stricker is also a quiet trash talker, especially when it comes to like behind team closed doors. He is not the same Stricker that if you watch golf or if you see him tear up in interviews. That's not the same guy that we see in there in the team meetings. So I'll just I'm not going to say enough any more about that because it's not really I don't have the liberty, but let that be known that Steve Stricker has got a pretty he's a low handicapper in the trash talk department.
Amazing, amazing. One more for me, and then we'll turn it over to the rest of the group here. You're having a terrific season out on the PGA Tour Champions, coming into the final event of the season here in the playoffs. Could you just touch a little bit on what's gone right for you this year, and how do you hope to carry that into the Skechers World Champions Cup supporting Shriners Children's?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've always been really disciplined on my game plan and just a disciplined player. And that's what's gone well for me. I probably even took that to a new level this year. Me and my caddy, Chris Jones, have just done a good job like planning for the courses and sticking to it and letting it play out. Um, and then I've had some, I felt like me and my coach just really took good strides this year. John Scott Rattan and I um, have just, I'm a better golfer than I was not too long ago, just a couple years. And so I'm just playing more consistent golf. I've got a few more tools in my at my disposal that I didn't have before. Um, and so it's just I'm planning to do the same thing at World Champions Cup that I do, any other week, and that's just to, play the holes the best possible way. Try to take advantage of some of my advantages, which are power, and I have the ability to hit it a little further than most of my competitors out there, and so in a short match, like a 9-hole match, like this event will offer, that could be pivotal on some holes.
Yeah, absolutely. Terrific. Okay, I think we'll open it up to the media here. I guess to just keep things orderly, if you'd like to ask a question, if you could just raise your hand either on the screen or virtually, however you want to do it. So we'll open up to media now. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in first real quick here. John Reger on the T Florida. And one of the fascinating things about team competition, especially with the Ryder Cup, the exchange of golf balls, where certain players play certain brands of golf balls, and some of the difficulty they were expressing, since we live in such a data-driven age of, okay, what kind of golf ball do we play? Who do you even pair people together based on the golf ball that you play? On the Champions Tour, I know that there's some out there that are old enough to remember when they played the golf ball that was a smaller ball when you went overseas to play competitions like the Open Championship or the Ryder Cup. So, is that a factor at all in this tournament? Do you guys even care, or is this something that is under serious consideration when you start pairing if you have to exchange golf balls in in an alternate shot format?
Well, the golf ball is probably the most important piece of your equipment, and it's what you spend the bulk of your time really on as far as your choice. So you can imagine with, like you mentioned, being a data-driven sport these days, that it's very meticulous and it's just a thorough examination of all the information you have available to you before you choose the right golf ball for you. And then once you've done all that, if a team format comes up and someone says, now you're going to switch to this ball, well, all that work you did is kind of, there's question marks there, because I know it's for most of golfers out there, they'll think, well, the golf balls are all the same. I'm a Titleist guy. I play a certain Titleist ball, and they make 10 or 12 different models that we can choose from. How different really are they? Well, they are pretty different. When you do this daily for your livelihood and you are that meticulous about the testing and everything, they're quite different. And so it just comes down to trust and performance in different kind of conditions and all that stuff. When someone asks you to switch, then you have to go through a rapid adjustment period. And some players are better at that than others. Some players have it in their brain that they're a little, finicky about the ball, and we all are to a certain extent. But I'm not exactly sure what the format's going to call for. I believe there's some alternate shot, and if that's the case, we're going to probably have to choose golf balls. And I just hope that my captain puts me with the same golf ball that I already play, so I don't have to make this a big deal, because I have done this before where you switch around, and I'm not opposed to it. I would probably choose to go to the other player's ball just to keep it easy for them.
Okay, looks like Evan, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just wondering how familiar you are with Feather Sound and just your thoughts on the course, if very familiar, and if not, just also big picture, just the Tampa Bay area golf scene and just your impressions after so many years of playing.
Well, I have a lot of experience around the Tampa area, but unfortunately, it's all at one course, and that's Innisbrook. So I don't really know that much about Feather Sound at all, except I know where it's located. I did use my Google Earth app and kind of go and look at it, and it's hard to know exactly what's what and what holes we're going to play. But from the people I've talked to who have been down there, some of the rules officials, the captains. I have heard that it's a very nice place and accessible to a lot of people. So should be a real easy place to come out and watch golf. And other than that, I really don't know that much about it. It's going to be a new venue for all of us. and I'm sure there'll be some exciting holes. Course setup will probably be a factor that the officials at the tournament take into account to make it maybe a little bit more exciting. But it'll host. It'll do a great job as a host. And for as we see in the big team events that we like Ryder Cup we just saw, the course is less of a star of the show than the competition itself, as opposed to say like the Masters where you have Augusta National as center stage, because the drama that the team event creates is what really draws people in, and that was what we enjoy the most. So the course is going to be really good, I'm sure, but at the same time, it doesn't matter that much. It's match play. It's not a score thing. So, but this is a great question about experience around Tampa. I know it's a great time of year to be playing in South Florida, mainly because it's just a bad time of year to be playing anywhere else in the country. And so I'm looking forward to being there. And we have another event there in the area, not too far away in April, I believe. The senior PGA is moving down to a little further south. So it's going to be nice to play golf again down there. I've loved playing at Innsbruck for years and years. It's one of my favorite venues on the PGA Tour, and that's one place I really miss.
And then last question for me is just how much do you embrace kind of the crowd, the team camaraderie, all that in an event like this where, for the majority of your career, it is a little bit of a solo act, and then you kind of get thrust into this scene where you can kind of, lean into the fans a little bit more, lean into the energy, and also lean into some other players, and kind of have that team aspect.
Well, it's already started, as a matter of fact. I mean, you're right. The bonds that we have from these type of events are the ones that are the strongest. All my closest friends out there really they're rooted in these events over the years, the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup. And Jason Caron is a teammate of mine this year. He's never played on any of those events, but he and I feel like I'm already closer to him than I've ever been before because we're on the same team. And we just have this new sort of bond and friendship. And so it's already starting, and the event's still 6 weeks away. So yeah, it's one of the best parts about this from our perspective. Players, caddies, wives, girlfriends, captains. It just is the bond that you just they don't ever fade away.
Right, excellent. Looks like Jeff Shane has a question. Jeff, go ahead.
Hi, Stewart. Thanks for helping us out here. So many players that have had success later in their careers have to kind of balance, when do I make the move to PGA Tour Champions as opposed to trying to stay on the regular PGA Tour? What was that process like for you, and what finally convinced you to take the step?
Couple of things. First of all, I sought out other players who had been in that situation. There's not that many, especially more of recent times. There's not that many Steve Strickers or Peter Jacobsons who had playing status past their 50th, Kenny Perry. Those guys, it just doesn't really happen that often anymore because the game's so deep and so competitive now that most players just, let's just call it what it is. Most players just get booted out by the time they're like 45. So, but the players that I asked, they disappointed me so much because they didn't give me any hard answers or evidence. They just said, you'll know. And I was like, come on, give me something more than that. But in the end, I played for about a year or maybe a little more on the PGA Tour after I turned 50. And around last summer, 2024, I reached a point where I felt like I'm grinding my rear end off to try to gain the eligibility to do the same thing next year, which felt like, it's kind of getting lonely out here. I mean, you're really an outlier when you're over 50 years old out there on the PGA Tour because it's getting younger. And so as soon as I felt that, I felt like that's when, quote, you'll know. And I just kind of knew. And my wife and I both arrived at that feeling at almost exactly the same time. I remember we were driving back from the Wyndham in Greensboro back to Atlanta, and we both just had this thought and at the same time. And so that's when I switched over just to the PGA Tour Champions and decided that it was going to be my tour from here on out. And I don't regret it. I'm not looking back at all. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. And, I don't feel a sense of like purposelessness anymore.
You mentioned fun, and I was going to ask, after making that switch, has tour golf, become perhaps a little bit more fun because you're with your group of guys that you've played with forever?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly the social aspect that's more fun because I know everybody. They're they're my peers. A lot of us have kids the same ages, and our kids know each other. So yeah, it's more fun. It's also more fun to be in contention to win tournaments more often. There's no question about that too. And so PGA Tour Champions offers you that opportunity to have a chance to be in contention and test yourself and feel the nerves and the adrenaline. And you win and you lose, and it just is it's a true blessing that golf affords you if you have a long career to be able to sunset it in this way.
And a little bit of a provincial question, being I write for the Village's Daily Sun. Now that I don't know if your parents have mentioned it or not, but the Villages next week is going to move past 800 holes of golf. What does that signify to you?
It just tells me about how popular the game is. If there is one community that can have 800 holes of golf, they don't keep adding holes of golf at the Villages because it's not popular. I can tell you that. My parents have lived there now for about 19 years, I think. And so I've been to the Villages lots of times, and it's a great place for them, for a lot of people, obviously. And golf is just such a great game that can be played for a long time into your late in your years. And it's obvious that the Villages has something really good going. They've built a community on the backbone of the game.
Appreciate it, Stewart. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? I have one closing question, but I can wait if anyone else has any other questions. No. Okay. All right. One more. Oh, sorry, Jeff. Do one
No,
more.
that's fine. I'll throw one more in. You mentioning that some of the trash talk and needling that goes on between you and your peers. I guess particularly with Darren Clarke. How often does the word writer come into play?
It doesn't really come into play. I think the Europeans are very close to the vest about the Ryder Cup. I think they feel like they have a winning formula that they don't want to really even come close to releasing anything about. So the stuff that comes out from Darren Clarke and from Thomas Bjorn and the boys from over on the other side, they just they're just good sports about the game. And we have a lot of history, all of us, with them. Some from the Ryder Cup, some from playing in regular events over the years, but they just have like a really good sporting way about them, and I really respect a lot of that. And it's fun, to get into sort of that those little barbs that the microphones will never pick up. But yeah, I think this event's going to be just enough competition and just enough relaxed nature that you probably will hear a little bit about some of the trash talking and some of the stuff that might not, at the Ryder Cup, it's too intense. There's not really that much trash talk at the Ryder Cup. They use the media sometimes, but it's not appropriate at the Ryder Cup. But this year there was trash talk in the stands, and it was actually just talk that was trash. But on the golf course between players and caddies, there's not trash talk. What you see is, like, if there's anything that even resembles that, you see it boiling over into like a argument or a standoff, like you saw on the 15th hole at the Ryder Cup this year with those guys, Bryson and a few others. But it's so intense that it's too much of a pressure cooker for there to be any kind of it'd be like throwing a match into a powder keg. You just wouldn't want to do that. I have a feeling that World Champions Cup is going to be just enough competition and just enough relaxation to where there might be some sparks like that.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Terrific. Stuart, sort of in the vein of what Jeff asked, and you can choose to answer this or choose not to. Got three great teams, a lot of great players. They're going to be out there. Why do you think Team USA has the best lineup, and why do you think you're going to defend the title here?
Well, I think we have the best lineup because the event is located in our country, and it's an easier travel for us to do. Basically, at the end of a long season, it's really difficult for the guys from all over the world to come back and play for 1 week. And it's just a fact, that gives us an advantage. So outside of that, it's really hard to say that there is an advantage anywhere because the players are all highly ranked. They've had a good season. They've obviously earned their way onto the team via all the different categories like Hall of Fame and current play and all that. So, but I think that the location of the event matters. And in our case, we've got, not that any of us really played much at Feather Sound, but we've got familiar grass. It won't be a time zone issue. We won't have any hassles coming from places like New Zealand or South Africa or whatever to get here. So, that I think that gives us an advantage. And plus, we're the home team. We're going to have a lot of home fans, and we won the thing last time. And I say we, not because I had anything to do with it, but I still am an American.
Amazing, amazing, love it. All right, well, I think that should do it. Stewart, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you down at the Feather Sound in a little more than a month here.
All right, sounds great. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stewart.
Okay, good to see you.